We are about to get started. What's that? Is of the week. Anything having to do with science fiction, fantasy, and comic books.
Which is why you have to join in the conversation. So I'm Daryl, and we want to include your thoughts and ideas in this show. So leave us a comment, throw a question in there. We'll get to as many of them as we possibly can throughout the show. And also be sure you're subscribed, because we do these shows most Thursdays at 7:30 p.m. And so you want to be sure that you get all the most up-to-date information. And we also do special videos on YouTube too, so you want to be sure you get those. So, and as you probably all know, the Story Geeks podcast is produced by the Reclamation Society.
That is right. In fact, I have a new sticker on my computer with the Reclamation Society.
I have two.
Logo on it. And you have two. Yeah. So we're good. We're covered. We're branded. The agenda. So what are we going to talk about today? And it's going to be a fast show because we actually are recording the Last Jedi podcast about Luke Skywalker specifically right after this. So it's going to be a 30-minute show. We'll be done by 8 o'clock. Moving on. But we have some really cool things to talk about this week.
We do.
The first comes from Sarah, so I'm super stoked that Sarah is in the chat because she wanted to talk about Dolores Umbridge from the Harry Potter series. So we're going to talk about that. We will also be reacting to a couple new trailers this week. There's a lot of trailers that came out this week.
Yes.
But we're only going to react to two of them on this show. One is the Mary Poppins trailer. So for you Disney fanatics out there, Mary Poppins falls right into the realm of fantasy.
For sure.
That's why we'll be discussing it.
And it's Disney, so it's geek.
Yeah, it's automatically geek because it's Disney. And then also the Lost in Space trailer. They actually finally came out with a full trailer this week, and we're going to talk about that. We will also we had a submission by Ryan on Twitter, and he wanted to know our picks for the most complex Star Wars characters and the traits that they have. So we're going to talk about that. And finally, I hope you guys have seen this because this is really cool. There was a deleted scene that's going to be on the Last Jedi Blu-ray release, but there's a deleted scene that was already released on the Star Wars show, and we are going to talk about that a little bit too.
And why the heck it was deleted, because it makes no sense.
Exactly. Especially when there could have been a lot of other things that were deleted.
Yes.
As always, we want to hear from you guys. So like Daryl said earlier, definitely comment. I think this one's going to cause a lot of pain and suffering. It's going to cause a lot of anger on this first topic because I already had Albie on Facebook saying that he was actually cursing at his
He called you a vile and nasty woman, didn't he?
Exactly, yeah.
Oh, not you.
No, Dolores.
Sorry.
It was Dolores, actually.
My bad.
So, Daryl, as Sarah asked us, is there a villain that is more hated than Dolores Umbridge, and why?
Well, I guess I can only answer for myself, and I will admit that I'm not a giant Harry Potter fan. I have seen all the movies, and I definitely enjoy them. And I remembered who Dolores Umbridge was, but I needed a refresher. So I watched some YouTube clips and stuff today just to remind myself. But so I don't know. There might be, I could probably think of some people that would rival her for evilness, but what a freaking creepy lady. I mean, I feel like all the Harry Potter villains are automatically extra creepy.
Yeah.
Because the heroes are children.
The
heroes are kids. So if you're a villain, when the heroes are kids, you're a creep.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. Now I have to say that in order for me to talk about this, I needed some visual help.
Oh no!
So I brought a whiteboard that is actually just a large piece of cardboard.
A brown board.
Yes, because I wanted to tell you exactly a brown board.
Do you want me to hold it for you?
No, I'll be able to do it. Now, here's why I think that Dolores Umbridge is so hated. And this relates to why she's such the villain that she is, I think. And I think that there's this continuum, and I like to call it, let's just put it this way, right? Up here, we have, I don't know if you're going to be able to read this, but this is truth, okay? Right here, this is truth. And then over here, you would have grace, okay? My writing's all jacked up. Super truthful, and there's a continuum. You can be like a total liar, or you can actually speak a lot of truth. And the same thing with grace. So when I say truth, I say about fact, knowledge, or wisdom. And then grace is offering unmerited favor. So being nice to someone who doesn't really deserve it. Okay, if that's the way you can look at it. So if you look at it this way, there's this continuum of truth and grace, right? And we all know some people who are really good at speaking truth, and they're actually like really good at it. Like they'll come say to you like you did a really bad job at that. And they'll be blunt and they'll be kind of like obnoxious about it, and you actually come away feeling worse than you started because they told you the truth, but it was like not done in a very gracious way. And then on the grace side, you have people who will just be super nice to you and like never tell you that you have something on the side of your face or something, right? Because they want to be overly nice.
The yes men.
Yeah, so they're not really truthful. Well, the perfect ideal here is to be up in this quadrant where you speak truth, but with grace. You speak what is actually true, but you actually do it in such a way that it doesn't hurt the person. It actually helps the person, helps them develop. Dolores Umbridge, the reason why she is so brutal. So if you put like, who would be a character you'd say is like all truth, all blunt, with no grace? Batman, maybe?
Alfred?
Yeah. Well, and Alfred sometimes has some grace, right?
Some.
But like, and then some people are all grace, like I talked about earlier, and no truth.
Tony Stark.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah.
So it's all, Tony Stark is a great example of the truth spectrum, whereas Spider-Man might actually be more all grace and no truth, right? He says a lot of nice things to people.
Tom Holland Spider-Man. Yeah.
Tom Holland Spider-Man, yeah. Well, Dolores Umbridge is literally right here. She says nothing but lies, and she says them incredibly harshly. So there's no grace to her whatsoever, but she speaks lies as if they were truth. And that is the most frustrating kind of person you can be around. Because you can draw this quadrant, right? And where do you want to show up? You want to show up in this quadrant. There's some people that show up often in this quadrant. There's some people that show up in this quadrant. This is the last place you want to show up, because this means you're not speaking truth. You're only lying to people, and you're doing it in a super, super mean way. So that's why I think that she is hated the way that she's hated, because you can't watch like 5 minutes of her without being like, oh my gosh, this lady's the worst. Can you think of anybody who's worse? Is there any villain that's more hated than that?
I mean, if I would have thought about it ahead of time, sure. For some reason, the thing that comes to my mind is Kevin Spacey from Seven.
Oh, well.
That's
sure.
pretty much straight up evil.
It's true.
I mean, I'm sure I could come up with some, but she is extraordinarily evil because, again, I think because she's doing this stuff to kids. Like one of the scenes that I watched today was the scene after, so it was from Order of the Phoenix, after she was in the classroom and she says that there are no dark wizards out there.
Yeah.
And Harry says, well, what about Voldemort? And then so she tells him to come see her after class.
Yeah.
And she literally carves, I will not speak lies, into his hand. Like mentally, like it appears on his hand.
Yeah.
Like that's creepy as heck.
Yeah, it is. It's really bad.
Yeah.
So I would love to hear from the chat too. If anybody's in the chat and you can think of a villain that's worse than Dolores Umbridge, then let us know. The only one that I could think of that kind of approached the level of frustration that you have with her and the level of kind of like extreme dislike would be, for me, Wormtongue from Lord of the Rings.
Sure.
Because he's so slimy, he's just speaking lies. Those lies are like...
Although he's kind of on the level of like Peter Pettigrew or something from Harry Potter, wouldn't he be?
Probably. I'm not that familiar. I'm not that familiar with Harry Potter, I'm gonna be honest.
The character that David Tennant played. I forget his name. Somebody help me with that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
but it's just this kind of grotesque person who is tearing you down by speaking lies to you in such a secretive way that you believe those lies, and it lets that take over your life, taking away your ability to choose wisely. Whereas I think Dolores takes away from your ability to choose wisely, not by manipulating you necessarily, but by telling you basically can't do it. Like she's very direct in her, and it would probably only work with little kids, or it works better with little kids. If it's adults would be like, "What's wrong with you, lady?"
Yeah.
But
Sarah says Barty Crouch Jr. That's David Tennant's character.
Okay.
And then she says about the scene when with Harry and Dolores, she says it's the pen makes it happen. It's a blood quill. He's actually writing his own blood.
Yeah, see, that's not
which
good.
is totally creepy. Caitlin throws out Ramsay Bolton from Game of Thrones.
Oh my gosh. Yes. That's a great one. That Ramsay Bolton from Game of Thrones.
I got no context whatsoever.
He's worse than Dolores Umbridge as much as that. So I would say that's worse for me. But yeah, he's scum of the earth. In fact, you could make an argument that Joffrey.
Well, she said that too, and then she said no, Ramsay Bolton. So,
both of them are terrible. Both of them are really, really terrible. There's no redeeming qualities in any of those three characters. They're all terrible.
I also think of Negan and Shane from The Walking Dead.
Ooh, Shane. He was almost like good, then bad, then yeah. Yikes. All good choices. We got to keep the show moving though. So as you come up with more villains, throw them into the chat, and we'd love to have you guys talk about that stuff. We are going to react to a couple trailers that came out this week. Daryl, what did you think of Mary Poppins?
I was kind of excited for that.
Yeah.
It's sort of there's not a whole lot to it, but there is a lot of wonder in it.
Yeah.
And it kind of builds up the anticipation. I was almost a little bummed that they actually showed us Emily Blunt. I think maybe a teaser like that would have worked better if we didn't see her.
Oh, yeah.
But then people probably would have been mad about that. So, either way, but
I thought it looked good. They didn't show Venom.
Yes, exactly.
Internet lost its mind. This is the worst trailer ever. It is a teaser.
It definitely gave me nostalgia back towards the first film, and I'm excited for it. I think the people in it are really good.
Yeah. Did you see the movie with it's like Mary Poppins 1.5 with
Saving Mr. Banks?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a really good movie.
I loved that film. I thought the production design was amazing. Tom Hanks did a great job as Walt Disney.
Yeah.
I didn't necessarily want a Mary Poppins film. I'm not necessarily I'm a big Disney fan. I'm an annual pass holder. I go all the time. I like to keep up with Network 1901 because I watch all their stuff. So I'm a big Disney fan, but I would say that Mary Poppins is not really my cup of tea. I'll use that. That's a good pun. That's a good pun.
Maybe you just need a spoonful of sugar.
Oh, man. It might make it easier to go down. But not necessarily my favorite. I liked, if I was growing up a little earlier when that movie came out and they actually mixed the animation with the live action, that's a pretty special deal.
Yeah.
But it seemed older as I watched it anyways, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's dated, but it's also very timeless in a lot of ways too. Like, it's very classic. Like, they did the whole animation blended with live action thing on Bedknobs and Broomsticks too.
I actually really like that movie.
And I don't think it works as well in that one as it does in Mary Poppins.
Probably not.
Especially if you consider the fact that, this is way off topic, but the majority of the characters in Bedknobs and Broomsticks are rip-offs of the animation from Robin Hood. Because they were running out of money.
Let's just do the same characters. Okay, so I was just gonna say though, I was not necessarily excited about this. I was very excited about Saving Mr. Banks because it had Walt Disney in it, and I really liked that. However, as soon as I saw Lin-Manuel Miranda, I'm like, okay, I'm in. Like that dude's super fun. Like, how can I not be about that? So I was excited about that part of it.
So just a spoonful of Hamilton makes it go down.
Yeah, exactly. Which I haven't seen yet. I really want to, but I haven't seen it yet. I did think it was kind of weird that.
But I listen to the Moana soundtrack all the time.
Exactly. Yeah, he's just such a good. Yeah. And if you ever see him on like Jimmy Fallon and stuff, where he'll do like freestyle raps.
Yeah.
It's like the guy's amazing. Like it's just ridiculous. What about the Lost in Space trailer?
I am super excited for Lost in Space. I showed it to my wife, and she's super excited for it. We are literally considering getting an all-day babysitter so we can just binge it.
Hey, that's a good idea. If anybody wants to be an all-day babysitter.
Yeah, we're hiring.
Yeah.
I think it looks really cool. I think it looks beautiful. Like, I don't know that I've ever seen such quality-looking CGI on a TV show before. I know it's Netflix, so it's like it's a different degree, but it just looks really good to me.
Yeah.
I don't understand about the robot.
Right.
You asked me about this.
Yeah.
The robot in the movie and in the preview, it seems like is an alien or was on the planet that they crashed on.
It was definitely. It seemed like it was on the planet they crashed on.
Yeah.
Which kind of makes it an alien.
Whereas in the old TV show, the robot's part of the crew.
Yeah, exactly.
I believe. I've never actually watched the old show.
Oh, I used to watch the old show.
I've only seen the Matt LeBlanc movie that came out
Friends
in the
in
90s.
Space.
Yeah.
Well, I used to watch the old show. The old show was like from the 60s, I think. So we got a lot of 60s throwback here because I think Mary
So if
Poppins.
any of you are older than us, we apologize.
Yeah, Mary Poppins is like 60s too, right?
Oh gosh, maybe earlier.
Oh man,
I'll
I don't
look
even
it
know.
up.
Okay, so you got Mary Poppins and you got Lost in Space. They're definitely doing these updates with a lot of the films these days or the TV shows where they take a lot of. I mean, Lost in Space was kind of a kitschy type of a deal. It was not super serious, and they're making it pretty serious. So we'll see what happens. I think it looked really interesting. It looked like the drama was really good. They have a couple of twists, obviously thrown in. You can kind of pick up on just based on some of the characters and what they're doing. But I'm looking forward to Lost in Space. Like I said, I used to watch the cheesy '60s show as a little kid. So this looks a lot better produced than that.
Mary Poppins was 1964.
1964. There you go. There you go. Well, before we continue, really quick, wanted to talk to you guys about some of the stuff that we've been doing. One thing is we put out Man of Steel, Make It Better. So we take a movie and we say, what would make this movie better? Last week, Man of Steel came out.
Yep.
We had back-to-back Make It Betters, though, because this morning...
Back to back to back.
I know, it's really three in a row because we had the Cloverfield Paradox, we had Man of Steel, and just this morning, our podcast on Logan, our Make It Better on Logan, which was recorded with Justin Weaver, just came out. You can find it on our blog or wherever you listen to podcasts. And on the blog, actually, if you go over there, you can actually see a response from Ashley Pauls, who's writing blogs for us now. So she gives 3 ways. She kind of cheated this month, or this week. So just check out what she has to say. She didn't really make it better so much as she kind of talked about what she loved about it.
Maybe she thinks it doesn't need to be better.
Yeah, that's maybe true. The partner with that podcast is my Why Logan Does Not Deserve an Oscar, which it did not win. If you guys are looking at that, the Logan did not win an Oscar. You can go see the reasons why I didn't think it was going to and didn't think it deserved to. You can go look at the video for that. I also have a Is Killmonger Really a Villain video out there on YouTube. You can go look at that. There's a lot of controversy about, is he really a villain? Is he not a villain? I don't know. There's a lot of controversy, but it's worth looking at that because it depends on how you define heroes and villains. I think that's an important thing for us to consider. So go check that out. And then you have the last announcement for us.
Yeah, so I'm sure most of you guys have heard this coming Sunday, we have we call it 2017 Story Geek Awards. And sorry, I'm navigating to something as I do this. But so yes, Sunday at 7:30 p.m. as usual, except it's Sunday instead of Thursday. Come to our YouTube channel and we are going to do the Story Geek Awards, which is we are going to give awards and celebrate the movies that we all love that the Oscars mostly don't seem to love.
That's exactly right.
There's a few crossovers this year, but not a whole lot. And we're going to have 2 very special guests. We're going to have Michael Young from Nerd Soul. Mm-hmm. He's been on the show several times, and we love him. So we're going to have him. And then making her second Story Geek Award appearance, she was actually with us last year when we did this. We're going to have Sandra Demas from 2819.
Yeah. So that'll be really fun. And there's a special reason for you to tune in.
Which is what I'm trying to navigate to. Stall!
Yeah. So we actually have, well, before we go there, we do have a special reason why you should turn into the Story Geek Awards. One reason is just because the votes for what wins the awards were actually voted by you guys. So we didn't just choose what we thought the best geek movies were. We put together a nominating committee, and once we had that nominating committee, we actually then went out to a wide audience of people to go ahead and vote on their favorite geek films in the categories that we chose, and it's all there. So you can go check that out. Also, before we get to that, you can also support us on Patreon. So Patreon is a way for you to just give a little bit of money every month. You can start at like $3 a month, less than a comic book, less than a cup of coffee, most cups of coffee. We really appreciate your support. You will also get access to additional content. So, for example, on the Logan,
good additional content.
It's pretty good additional
content.
We
want more people to hear it.
Yeah, we want more people to hear it. Special thanks to Wade and to Jeremy for being Patreon supporters this week. But yeah, you get access to additional content. So, for example, we choose 3 ways to make these stories better. Well, guess what? The 4th way we make it better is only released on Patreon. So if you like those podcasts, last week I got a message from one of the Facebook groups that I'm in, and the guy said, "Wow, I really liked your Man of Steel Make It Better. It's a really cool format." I was like, I'm really glad you thought that. Well, there's an additional thing. If you really love a podcast like that, you can always go onto our Patreon, become a patron, and then you get access to that additional content. So that's just really cool, and we really appreciate everybody who gets into that.
Yes.
You trying to find the blog?
I'm trying to, but for some reason it's not loading properly. But that's okay. Here we go. So yeah, 2 more things about the Story Geek Awards. First of all, we had more votes and submissions for this than anything we've ever done before, as far as having people vote and submit picks.
We had like 3 times the number of submissions as we had last year.
Yeah, it's been really exciting. So thank you guys for coming out and being a part of that and making it cool. And then we have a very special announcement, which I'm still waiting for this to load. I'm just going to do it anyway. We're announcing this here for the first time, and then we're going to release it to Facebook after the show tonight. But at the Story Geek Awards, for those of you who are viewing the show, we have a special giveaway that we're going to be doing. So you have to view the show, and you have to announce yourself in the comments so that we know who's there, because it's going to be a drawing amongst everybody who is viewing at the time of the giveaway.
Yeah.
And so what we're going to give away, there's an image loading here, but when it loads, I'll show it to you. We are giving away to 1 lucky winner Blu-ray copies of all 5 of our Best Geek Film nominees. So if you can see this here, I don't know if that's showing up, but these are our 5 winners that we're going to be giving away the awards for. So you'll get a Blu-ray copy of Logan, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Blade Runner 2049, Wonder Woman, and Star Wars The Last Jedi, which is not even out yet. It comes out on March 27th. When it comes out, we've already pre-ordered it. We will send it to you.
So you get all 5 movies. So it's a pretty sweet giveaway because all those movies are awesome. And right now, I only own 2 of them, so I wish I could own it, but I'm not eligible.
No,
so.
Nobody who's connected to the Story Geeks or the Reclamation Society is eligible. So
yeah, Sunday, Sunday, March 11th at 7:30 p.m. Pacific time, and make sure because we're gonna have the time shift on Saturday night, so make sure you get the time down because we're gonna turn the clocks, whatever it is, forward or backward or whatever. But we're running out of time, and I want to get to a couple more topics. So this came from Ryan, and Ryan asked, who are the most complex Star Wars characters, and what traits do they have?
Wow. Well, when you talk about complex Star Wars characters, the first thing that comes to my mind is Kylo.
Yeah.
I feel like Kylo is the most complex. He's my favorite, as controversial as that may be. He's my favorite of the whole saga.
There you go.
Now, granted, he can't be as complex as he is in a way that makes sense if we don't have everything that came before him. If we didn't have Darth Vader and Anakin, like all that stuff kind of feeds into him.
Yeah.
So he's the product of some great stuff. But for me, he's the most complex because he's evil, but I don't even think he fully understands why he's evil. He's just so confused, but it's so fascinating to watch.
Yeah. I made a really short list, and we don't have a lot of time, so I'll just go through it really fast. I thought that Anakin is really complex. Anakin's a complex character. Kylo is a complex character. These are in order. So Anakin and Kylo being the most complex. I think Rey is really complex. I think Cassian Andor is really complex. I think Finn has complexity. Han Solo has complexity, and Obi-Wan has complexity.
Yeah,
that's like my list, and it's kind of like the most complex are at the top. And I think that complex characters are usually conflicted in some way about the choices they're making. They're not sure their choices are correct. A very simple character goes, "This is what I believe," and that's it. Like Palpatine is very simple. He just believes, "I'm going to take over the world. I'm the best thing there is, and I'm going to do that." Whereas you see Anakin struggle with that. Why is he struggling with that? Because he realizes that there's complexity that comes with it. His worldview is not so simple. It has nuance to it. Kylo Ren is the same way. Anakin and Kylo Ren being the most complex characters.
Yeah.
I think we see some complexity in Rey, though. Because I think Rey, as Rey is trying to figure out, like, which way do I go, there's some complexity to her character that was not present in Luke Skywalker, for example.
Yes.
So I think that's cool. I think some characters like Cassian Andor, he's trying to figure out what's right and what's wrong, and he sees the difference between like Saw Gerrera, and he sees the difference between Jin. I think that there's some complexity there. Finn obviously trying to figure out if he should run. He's kind of figured out that the First Order is bad.
Yeah.
So there's like these nuances about how they make choices. And then Han Solo's kind of a similar to Finn, but like flipped. He acts like he's a simple character who's just gonna do stuff that makes him money, but that's not it at all. He actually does a lot of stuff. Yeah, he does a lot of cool stuff. And I think Obi-Wan is the last one I put on there because Obi-Wan is constantly in this state of flux between: do I go with Yoda? Do I go with Qui-Gon? Do I go with the Jedi Council? Do I go with Yoda again later on in life, right?
Yeah.
So he's always trying to figure that out. Does he go with Luke? Does he go with Yoda? That kind of deal. So Star Wars, that's cool because Star Wars has lots of complex characters.
We've got some good comments on this.
Cool. Let's hear them.
Sarah says Rey is complex because of the fan theories, and she says child of midichlorians. Am I right?
I think you might be right.
And then I'm assuming Dale, that's you on the Network 1901 account. Says child of the Force for sure. No one believes me though.
Oh, dude, I'm totally Team Dale on that one.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Dale also says, and I really agree with this. He says, I think Last Jedi made Luke the most complex character. That is a really good point.
Oh, The Last Jedi made Luke way more complex. That's a great point.
And then Caitlin says Finn has potential for complexity, but I don't know if it's been fully or really explored.
Yeah. Those are all great.
Speaking of which, we should talk about that deleted scene.
Yeah, that's a good segue. So last thing we have on here before we close out.
One more.
Yeah.
Cody says Qui-Gon Jinn, Count Dooku, and Mace Windu add a level of complexity to the views on the Force that we didn't see before the prequels. That's good point.
That's true. So yeah, so if you take the Force as sort of its own character, different perspectives on the Force make it more complex.
Yeah. It's
not as easy. Very good. Very nice point, Cody. Deleted scene from The Last Jedi, Finn and Phasma. It was released on the Star Wars show this week. If you haven't seen it, go watch it because it's really interesting.
Yes.
What did you take?
I don't know why it's not in the movie. It's so much more interesting than what is in the movie. So I guess we should say spoiler alerts if for some reason you haven't seen The Last Jedi. Shame on you.
Yeah.
But
or this deleted scene.
Yeah.
Which is like not really a spoiler because
no, but yeah. So it comes from the scene in the movie where Finn and Phasma meet as Snoke's ship is, being destroyed from the hyperspace collision, and it basically gives a whole new spin on that scene, and it sort of features Finn saying some stuff that would seem to be affecting the stormtroopers that are standing around Phasma.
Yep.
Which worries her enough to where she actually kills all of them.
Yeah.
Right.
Because he's basically talking about how Phasma didn't do her job, and he convinced her to lower the shield on Starkiller Base.
Right.
And she didn't really do it with much of a fight. She didn't sacrifice her own self. She was just like, okay.
And you can see it too. Like all the stormtroopers kind of cock their heads at her just a little bit, and they have no expression. It's just the helmets, but you can feel the tension. Like the tension in the scene is so good.
Yeah. And I think that you can kind of, because this is the point of the film where Phasma's, part of Phasma's mask is missing, so you can see her eyes, and you can see how much that guilt and shame that's associated with that is like, I've got to cover this up.
Yeah.
So she just shoots them all, and I think she also calls him a traitor, which is really fascinating because she's actually sort of a traitor to a certain degree as well by actually giving over the plans without fighting back at all.
Right.
So. It's a really good scene. It makes that whole exchange have a little bit more complexity. Also, she gets her hand chopped off, and that's a Star Wars thing.
I know. Does anybody else get their hand chopped off in that movie? Because it seems like there's one in just about every movie, right?
There's like one in every movie, but I don't know that there's any in that movie.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's any in... Oh, no, the dude gets his arm chopped off in A New Hope. That doesn't quite count, but...
Sure it counts.
Pando Baba.
A chopped off arm is a chopped off arm.
That's true. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Well, we really appreciate you guys joining us. We're going to transition out because we're going to have some more conversations about The Last Jedi.
That's right.
With some friends of ours. We'll come up with special announcements later. You'll hear who we're talking to because it's really fun. and it's all because of the Mark Hamill exchange that we had. So we were able to get a couple of special guests on,
right.
including one of them that you've heard a lot of before, Dale Wentland. But that is it for today's live show. Thanks to everybody who dropped by, and to most especially to those who left comments. We always appreciate when you do that. Don't forget to subscribe. You got to make sure you're subscribed. Also, check out all the additional content that's available on patreon.com. Head over to www.thestorygeeks.com.
And watch out for more information about the Story Geek Awards.
Yes.
Keep an eye on Facebook. Remember to join us Sunday night at 7:30.
You're not going to want to miss that because you're going to want to win these DVDs, Blu-rays.
Yeah.
I'm still in 1995.
Real
DVDs.
quick, Cody says Mark Hamill got his star on the Walk of Fame today. I watched that ceremony.
Did you?
I kind of teared up a little bit.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not going to
Did
lie.
he give us a shout out? His new friends?
He did not.
Oh.
But it was really good.
I think he signed the Story Geeks and Dale Wentland into his cement.
We'll just have to drive up there and check it out.
I guess so.
Anyhow, thank you guys. And
Yeah.
remember to question everything in your favorite geek stories and always seek the truth.
Bye. Awkward part of the show.